Let's get the latest from the world of film. We're joined by... You're now officially listed, you should know, Amon Warmann, on my running order as Talk Sports film reviewer. How does that feel?
I'd like to thank my father, my mother for this great honour.
Get it in your Twitter handle right now. Take out Hey You Guys and Den a Geek or whatever else you've got in there and get us in there ASAP.
Absolutely.
Good to speak to you, pal. And there's lots to talk about over the last couple of weeks. A couple of big blockbuster releases. But I want to start off with Hereditary, which is out this week, I think, coming up.
Correct, yeah.
A big horror movie coming up. Toni Collette has been doing the press rounds. I've heard from her quite a bit. And I'm a huge horror fan. And I am someone who kind of laments the lack of genuinely scary films, but this has been garnering some pretty high praise and some pretty high comparisons with some horror classics.
Yeah, this movie will. I am not a horror guy. I'm trying to expand my horizons, but really I'm a worst. I get scared of everything, but this movie, it might be the scariest one I've ever seen, and that is in no way hyperbolic. Just to explain a little bit about what it's about. The matriarch of the Graham family, she dies, and her daughter, who's played by Toni Collette, begins to uncover cryptic and highly disturbing secrets about her family. And it just felt like the screenwriters asked themselves, how can we make this even more messed up? At almost every turn of the movie, my cold shiver count was so high, Will. And I don't think I've ever sweated so much watching a movie before, and it had nothing to do with how hot the room was. It is just so freaky. It felt like I needed to see my priest, my pastor, my nun, and monk. I need to see everybody after this movie. I need to just get right with God after watching this movie. It's really... just thinking about it now just freaks me out. And Toni Collette is absolutely phenomenal. It's an awards-worthy performance. Right now, she's my front runner for Best Actress. She's just absolutely incredible. It's a very heavy film, but she is right there every step of the way.
Not kind of a traditional source of awards, horror movies.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, there's a genre bias that the Academy has to horror movies, to superhero movies, no matter how great they may be. The Academy very rarely, especially if it's to do with acting awards, very rarely awards films of that genre. I'm hoping that they choose to break that mold with this film because it is fantastic. It's a very, very great movie, which I never, ever, ever want to see again, ever.
I mean, that being said, Get Out obviously does come into the horror genre at times, and that obviously garnered the directing award for Jordan Peele this year. So there is, it's not unheard of, and I'm glad to hear. Is it more kind of psychological, creepy, or are we talking big jump scares as well?
It's both. It's psychological. It's very, very, very creepy. But there are jump scares aplenty as well. But you see, the thing with Get Out, I mean, the film was my favorite film of last year. It was great. But Get Out, and it was definitely rooted in the horror genre, but there are times when it's really, really funny. There's nothing funny about Hereditary. It's just pure horror. I was not laughing. I did not laugh once watching this movie. I'm sure people were laughing at me as I was screaming and yelping and everything. But me, I was not laughing. I was just getting freaked out. So I highly recommend it, but it is the scariest film I've ever seen. So if anybody's listening to this and wanting to check it out, just bear that in mind because you might have trouble sleeping afterwards.
And the thing is, my wife doesn't like horror films. Producer Ollie doesn't like horror films. I actually don't know if producer Sam likes horror films or not. I'll ask him later, but don't feel like there's a lot of people I'm going to get to take along to this film, so I've got a feeling that I'm going to be watching this on my own in a dark theatre at some random time of day, like 2 p.m, because I've been doing a night shift. And I'm slightly concerned for this, but I'm really excited about it at the same time.
If that is the case, then Will, it's been nice knowing you.
So other films on the list this week, and this came out actually last week, the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom the sequel to Jurassic World with Chris Pratt and why has her name suddenly gone from my head? Bryce Dallas Howard as well. And I went and saw this. I saw this at the BFI IMAX last week after work one day, and there were certain elements of this film that I wanted to admire, and I think J.A. Bayona is a director who had some ideas in his vision, and you know, there were elements of it that I thought could have been really interesting. But I found myself getting a bit bored.
Yeah, I can understand that. Again, just to briefly explain what it's about, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's characters, they head back to Island Nublar to save the remaining dinosaurs from a volcano which is about to erupt. But then once they're there, they become embroiled in a gigantic conspiracy with a few characters. I had fun with it. J.A. Bayona's visuals, as you mentioned, they are frequently amazing in this movie. It's really, really impressive in that regard, I think. And the action set pieces are exciting and at times appropriately scary, although, you know, I'm really, scary is taking on a new meaning after Hereditary. I feel like, you know, that film has changed everything for me. But the AMONymous where Jurassic World has jump scares, which were effective. I also want to shout out Isabella Sermon, who plays the young child Macy. I think she's really good in her first movie performance. I think she was really impressive. She really stood out to me in this film, which, again, you don't tend to get when it comes to child performances. But, you know, for me, I thought she was really great. But, yeah, I mean, for me, the big problem with this movie is that there are many near misses when it comes to characters' interactions with the dinosaurs. And especially when it comes to our heroes. The heroes, they're almost dead, and then they somehow manage to get away. And once or twice, you can sort of get it. But when it happens several times, the more they get away, the less scary the dinosaurs become, which is not what you want from a movie like this.
Yeah, lack of. I think you're right. A lack of actually feeling like people were in any peril at any point was part of it. And actually, there's an element of the decision making. I think I discussed this when we were talking about The Last Jedi, in that I feel like as long as the decisions of what happens in plot development is rooted in something that an actual real human being would do, then I'm kind of generally fine with it. There is a moment very early in this film, and it's something that I've seen no one else pick up on, but something involving both Chris Pratt's character and one of the people that's come into the film, which was so unbelievably stupid and irritating that it just took me out of the film, and immediately I got annoyed at it, and it kind of spent the next hour and a half trying to win me back and not quite getting there.
Yep, I know exactly the moment you're talking about, too. I completely agree. But, yeah, I mean, the other thing with this is that there's a very thin amount of character work. And, you know, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, they're really good actors. I've seen them in many movies, and they're really good. But they are not used to the best of their abilities in this film at all. The screenplay is really the weakest element of this movie, which is a shame. Because, you know, whilst it does sort of ask some interesting ethical questions which don't have easy answers, the actual plot and sort of what the characters, you know, from point A to B to C, it's really undercut and disappointing in that regard. So, you know, if you're sort of coming to Jurassic World for the action and the set pieces and the dinosaurs, I think in that respect you'll be satisfied. But if you want sort of something more, I think you're going to be a little unsatisfied in that regard.
Now, Ocean's 8 is the other film that comes out later this week in the blockbuster terms, and I think there was quite a bit of excitement about this film because it is an incredible cast, but some of the reaction has been lukewarm. How did you feel about it, Amon?
Lukewarm is the appropriate adjective, unfortunately. Sandra Bullock, she plays Debbie Ocean, who is the sister of Danny Ocean, who's of course played by George Clooney in the Ocean's 11 trilogy. And then after being released from prison, she plans to rob the Met Gala with 7 other female associates, all of whom have a particular set of skills which they have refined over a very long career. No, okay, I won't be taken. Yeah, this movie, it's okay. I want to shout out the score by Daniel Pemberton, who's a composer who I've admired for a long time now. It's very playful and jazzy, which is perfect for this sort of film. And, you know, it is great to see the women at the center of everything. The movie is very well cast and diverse, which I really like. And the fashion, which is, you know, really been hyped up for good reason, is amazing. Kate Blanchett in particular just looks flawless in every scene she's in. Her wardrobe is amazing. I wish this movie was as good as the fashion because it is very pedestrian. For me, when I think about the Ocean's movies, when I think about heist movies in general, the pleasure comes from me anyway, from watching these movies come and try, when they're trying to piece together the complicated schemes and then being surprised at the reveals and how it all comes together to see how they pull it off. This scheme feels so simple. I mean, I'm not the best at sort of following sort of plots like this, but this scheme is so simple. I was with them every step of the way. That's not what I want from a film like this, because by the time the ending came, I was very unsatisfied. Which is just, you know, you want to be conned, you want to be hoodwinked. You're not that with this movie at all. It's very, very simplistic. It feels like the most simple version of this film that they could have made, which is a shame because the cast is great. There's so much the film has going for it on paper, but the end result is just undercooked, which is a shame. So I just wish they flipped the script a little bit more. Also, again, there's not a lot of great character work as well. It's, you know, just, you know, the Sandra Bullock character assemble her teammates. They did a heist. There's not really that much sort of in between that to really bolster the film. So it's a bit of a shame in that regard. I don't think it's a bad movie. It is decent, but they could have done more with it for sure.
Yeah, it's disappointing. That's the one factor you point out, Amon, because I was going to say I love a heist movie, even if it's not great, but it's good fun, then I'll enjoy it. But yeah, I need to, like you say, be hoodwinked just a little bit. I just need a little bit of that. Amon Warmann, brilliant stuff. As always, find him on Twitter at Warmann, and you can he joins us every week to talk about the latest film releases and does a brilliant job of it. So we appreciate his time. Thank you to you, Amon. You are listening to TalkSport Extra Time. We'll talk